Hello everybody. So let's talk about chapter 3 now. In chapter 2 last time we looked at the broader picture of marketing strategy planning, what a marketing manager or the VP of marketing plans for the whole company. And chapter 3 onwards we actually get into the brass tacks, where we get down to the details as to the nitty-gritties of how things would be done. And if you remember, the first 3 boxes of the marketing plan that we discussed in chapter 2, those first 3 boxes talked about you first find out what your firm's mission statement is, you do a SWOT analysis, you do an environmental analysis, and accordingly decide what business opportunities you want to pursue and what target market and marketing strategy you want to make. So this chapter 3 gives you an overview of the environmental analysis that a company has to do, and the environment can be direct environment or it can be external environment. So this is what this chapter is all about. So agenda for this chapter is we will understand what direct and external environment means and what are the various factors, aspects that a company needs to study for understanding its broader environment in which it operates. And once it has understood its environment, then the company decides as to what kind of opportunities it wants to pursue in the marketplace. That's what, in essence, this chapter is about. And here is a couple of pictorial representations of what the marketing manager is trying to do here. They look at the company, their own company, they look at the competitors, do the competitor analysis, and the external marketing environment. And after considering all those factors, there are some screening criteria which are used for identifying opportunities and narrowing down marketing opportunities. And finally, the goal of this whole exercise is to identify the best opportunities that a company should pursue. And this is another pictorial representation of what we are talking about. This is the direct environment at the top, the company, the customers, and the competitive environment. And the external environment comprises these 4 factors. And in the light of direct and external environment, the company tries to design its marketing mix for the target market that it has selected. That's what the company is trying to do. And in the light of all this environmental analysis, the company writes its SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And SWOT analysis is done in such a way, keeping in mind the details from the environment, that the company is able to take advantage of its strengths, is able to downplay or minimize the negative impact of its weaknesses, make use of all the good opportunities, and is able to keep all the threats at bay so that it is not hurt due to any factors in the environment. So we all know customers are constantly changing for all companies. Customers are getting more technologically savvy. Customers, their income levels are changing, economic status is changing, and all those things happen. Even in business to business markets, you see customers, companies, they merge with each other. There are mergers and acquisitions. Recently there was a merger that was being planned between Cisco, the food wholesaler, and US Foods, and that merger would have created a behemoth of an organization in the food wholesaling industry with revenues in excess of $65 billion. So anytime such mergers happen, the customers of the vendors, of suppliers, they become very, very big, and they become very powerful, and it changes the nature of marketing for the suppliers. So customers always change, we know that. So here we'll mainly talk about, in this short lecture, about how the company's objectives and mission statements that impacts marketing, and a little bit about the competitive environment as well. So first thing first, we touched upon this in chapter 2 as well, that mission statement of the company at the top that directly impacts the marketing objectives of the company. And marketing objectives, in turn, they impact the product objectives, place objectives for each of the 4 Ps. So this is how the philosophy, the core values, the mission statement, it kind of trickles down. A quick example on how the mission statement of a company impacts its functioning. This is the mission statement of Procter & Gamble, the famous consumer products company, probably the biggest in the world. We will provide branded products and services of superior quality and value that improve the lives of the world's consumers, now and for generations to come. So if you look at this mission statement carefully, you will see there are several lessons which follow from this core statement. And marketing has to be in tune with this mission statement. If you look at what the company does in the marketplace, yes, most of the company's products are of superior quality, as you see here mentioned, right? Improve the lives of the world's consumers. Most of the products that the company sells, they are consumer products. Think Duracell batteries, think Bounty paper towels, think Tide detergent, think Old Spice, perfume, deodorants. So all those things, they improve the life. So the P&G has in a way vowed to be in the consumer products market. It is not going to go out and manufacture automobiles all of a sudden, now and for generations to come. And that means the company has plans to be in those markets which are there for the long term, and these markets are not fleeting markets. They are not fads, but they cater to the basic needs of their consumer segments. Another quick example on how mission statement changes actually over time. The older mission statement of Ford Motor Company, it used to be some time back, we are a global family with a proud heritage, passionately committed to providing personal mobility for people around the world. And when the company had this mission statement, actually the company got into all kinds of transportation. It even got into making golf carts, and try to sell golf carts in the marketplace. And then came the recession time, and companies were all in deep trouble. Even survival was at stake. It was difficult for companies to survive. And then during that time, Ford as a company decided to change its mission. And the new mission statement came up as One Ford Mission, an exciting, viable Ford delivering profitable growth for all. And given this mission statement, the company started focusing on viability of the company and on the profitability of the company as well, both for the company and its channel partners, dealers, etc. And that changed the marketing tactics of the company in a major way. I would also like to introduce you all to the typical marketing objectives that companies pursue in the marketplace. You should know this by my experience, and this is what we used to do when I was in the industry. The most popular marketing objectives that companies set for themselves are increase sales revenue, obviously, increase market share and win customers from the competitors, launch new products. This is becoming a very important objective. 3M, you must have heard of that company. They have actually vowed that at least 60% of the products, they should come from new products which are less than 5 years old, and companies are using such metrics increasingly. Increase customer loyalty. In other words, the percentage of revenue coming from repeat customers, the companies like to track that metric, and they want to increase it as much as possible. And that shows that the revenue stream of the company is more stable in nature when the customer loyalty is high. Increase profitability, the final profits the company makes. Increase percentage revenue from international markets. More and more companies are going out. So this is the kind of brief listing of typical marketing objectives that companies use. There's another carries on. Customer satisfaction should be increased. Reduce marketing expenses. One point I would like to point out for you here is that these days, increasingly, given how societal marketing is getting more and more popular, so-called soft objectives are becoming quite important these days for companies, and they are Increasingly, instead of hard metrics such as revenue or profitability, the companies are often focusing on measuring customer satisfaction, even employee satisfaction, etc. Lastly, on the direct environment for the company, you must understand how the competition looks like in the marketplace. And broadly, as you saw in the text, there are four different types of competitive situations that a company can face in the market, and they range from monopoly to pure competition. Monopoly, as you know, one company dominates the whole market, and that is rarely a situation in today's markets. Most markets are very competitive. Uh, they say that there is only one monopoly in almost every country, and that is the government. And in markets, sometimes you have electricity utility companies which have monopoly, but even those are not pure monopolies because the government often sets the prices and keeps strict control over those companies. So monopolies are almost non-existent in the free market enterprises of today, especially in countries like USA. On the other end, pure competition means all companies are the same, all products are the same. There are some sectors in which pure competition is the situation. You go and buy gasoline. It's pretty much, there's no difference between two sellers. You go and buy water, bottled water, or you want to buy eggs, you want to buy milk. Often you will see that there is hardly any difference between two companies, and customers usually just go in and pick up any product that's available, and all those companies compete strictly on price. Somewhere in the middle you have two more options: oligopoly and monopolistic competition, and you need to understand the difference between the two as well. In monopolistic competition, as you read in the text, companies compete and largely control their respective target markets, and they dominate them, but the customer is still free to go to whichever company it wants to go to. So that's monopolistic competition, and typical market would be, almost every market in the US would either fall into the monopolistic competition category or oligopoly category. Of course, some are into pure competition as well. So if you think of monopolistic competition, say the shoes market comes to my mind. You have multiple companies like Nike, Adidas, Skechers, Puma, and all these, and they compete with each other, and they also dominate their respective target markets. You go in the retailing sector, Walmart, Target, Meijer, Dollar General, they compete with each other, but they control their respective markets. So that's monopolistic competition. The only difference, and I would like to point that out, between an oligopoly and the monopolistic competition is the number of players in the marketplace. In an oligopoly, the number of players is much fewer than monopolistic competition. Oligopoly, typically, 2 or 3 or 4 major players, they dominate the market. To give you an example of an oligopoly, you think of the car rental market. So between these three companies, Hertz, Avis, and Enterprise, you have any idea what percentage of the market these three companies control? Well, a whopping 95% of the market is controlled only by three companies. This is very much looks like an oligopoly. You go to the beer market, Anheuser-Busch and Miller Coors, they control close to 80% of the market. Many commodities like copper, aluminum, you will see just 2 or 3 companies they control most of the market. So yeah, know the difference between these different types, and be thinking of one more thing as to what kind of competitive market you would prefer to. If you are in a market, what kind of competition you would like to see in the marketplace, and do a little bit of analysis of your competition as well, as to what kind of companies you will be competing against, to get an idea as to which category you will fall in your project work. All right, so that's all about the direct environment, and we will continue on other topics. Thank you.